So I love this update from George R. R. Martin, and not necessarily because of what's in the majority of the body of the text here, but mostly because of what we get down there at the very bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and read this over to you. I'm going to put it on the screen here. I do not look forward to other posts I need to write about everything that's gone wrong with House of the Dragon, but I do need to do that too, and I will. Not today, though. Today is... I don't even know what this is that he's referencing. This is not something that I'm into, so I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce this. Today, well, I'm going to try. Today is Zazobraz Day, when we turn away from gloom. So I'm not sure if that's referencing the gloom from House of the Dragon or if it's associated with this other project. I'm not very familiar with it. I don't want to pretend that I am. I'm obsessed with A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm obsessed with Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Fire and Blood, stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So forgive me if this is something that's really important to you and I just butchered the name of it. Forgive me. But I want to get back to the body, not to the body of this text, but to what he states here when he references House of the Dragon. I do not look forward to other posts I need to write about everything that's gone wrong with House of the Dragon. I need to do that, and I will. So why do I love that? It's not that I love that something has gone wrong with House of the Dragon. It's not that I'm happy that things are not perfect, that this has not been some groundbreaking prequel to Game of Thrones, or that it's not shattering record. I'm not happy about any of that. What I am happy about is that George R. R. Martin is making it clear to us that he sees something that fans see, that, hey, there is a problem. Now, could it be he has a problem with the actual showrunners and the writing staff and what, just the way that this show is being portrayed based strictly on the writing? He could be hinting at that, but it doesn't seem appropriate or of good etiquette for George R. R. Martin to publicly criticize other writers. I don't believe that's something he's going to do. Not specifically. Now, he's made the post that kind of contradicts other posts he's made in the past where he talks about, the book is the book and the show is the show. And then earlier, about a month or two ago, he made a statement where he basically dismisses people that make the claim that the book is the book and the show is the show. So, okay, some contradiction there, but okay, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I like that he is willing to say that, hey, there are problems, which means to me that we are not going to be gaslit by showrunners or creators without, or HBO for that matter, Warner Brothers Discovery. Nobody's going to be able to get away with gaslighting the audience when we say, hey, something clearly is off here. And it looks like it's got a lot to do with what's going on, not just behind the camera or what's happening in the writer's room, more so what is going on with the structure of HBO, how their creative teams are structured, how the production is being structured from all the way at the very top to the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, all the way down to the actual writer's room. Something has gone awry. And this is George R. R. Martin letting us know that he thinks that too. He must, or else he would not so blatantly state that something, not just something, about everything that's gone wrong with House of the Dragon, which suggests to me, plural, multiple things have gone wrong with House of the Dragon. And it sounds like he's going to be as direct as possible in addressing some of those issues. So, if you look into some of this stuff, I know a lot of people are dismissing the writer's strike. I think people are dismissing the impact of that on the production, not being able to do rewrites, live rewrites during shooting. I mean, look, this is a part of the process of producing these larger budget projects. It's part of the process on smaller independent films. Student films go through rewrites. The fact that they were not able to do that during the majority of their filming is a problem. Now, in post-production, I know they had some reshoots for certain scenes, but it doesn't sound like anything substantial was changed as far as from writing decisions, but hopefully we get some more elaboration on that. And why I do like that George R. R. Martin is bringing this up, and a reason why I've been reluctant to really dive in here on issues that I believe have occurred with House of the Dragon is because I'm waiting on this. I'm waiting on George R.R. Martin. I'm waiting on anybody that's actually going to give us more of a conclusive insight as to of what actually occurred here with season 2. And I'm hoping George R.R. Martin will offer us that. And then we will be provided with some context. Because I don't think it's fair. The amount of attacks on Sarah Hess just seems so absurd to me. I don't think anybody that's going to be in the comment sections of this video or any other video or on X or any other type of social media on Reddit, whatever it is, I don't think there's any way you possibly have insight as to what Sarah Hess's actual role is. Sure, she's listed as a writer, she's listed as an executive producer. What is her actual input? What are her true decisions? What are the studio's decisions? What are decisions that are made strictly due to monetary purposes or due to budgetary restrictions? You don't know. So when you attack Sarah Hess specifically, keep in mind, you don't actually know what you're talking about. You might think she has an agenda, and maybe she does. Maybe she has a very specific interpretation of the source material in Fire and Blood, and that interpretation differs from yours. It certainly differs from mine. So I'm not saying that you should attack her for, or you shouldn't be critical of creative decisions, but there may be restrictions or insistence from the studio that are being incorporated into the show that we dislike. There may be restrictions where there are maybe brilliant ideas that they are just not able to put on display into the actual final product because of whatever direction they're being given by the studio. We don't know. Look, I'm not going to defend Sarah Hess unjustly though either, because I don't know. Maybe she's responsible for all of it, but I think it's a really odd person to single out and narrow all of your criticism on. And I see it in my comment sections often, and I'm not really sure where that's coming from. Hopefully I didn't trigger anybody too much with that comment. That's not my goal. I just think maybe we should have a little bit more of a step back so we have better perspective. And I think George R. R. Martin is actually going to be the one person to provide us that, which is really exciting for me because it's not often during a run of a show that we actually hear from the horse's mouth itself. So that's kind of exciting. Another thing, I look at some of this stuff. I'm really interested to see what actually is George's problems. Are they similar to ours? Does he dislike this focus for prophecy for the character Daemon? That's one issue I really have. Does he dislike the stuff with Rhaenyra and Allison? That's something I'm not a huge fan of because it is, as far as how the war plays out, that it certainly recontextualizes that event, going into season 3, where we would be at in the books in Fire and Blood right now. The Allison and Rhaenyra exchanges in season 2 specifically definitely changed the dynamic of what this war looks like, and that could be okay. I don't like it. I think it interferes with some of the dynamics that were already established in the source material, and I don't know why we need to dismiss those to add in these. And who knows, maybe that's a Sarah Hess thing, and you, those of you that criticize her, maybe you'll turn out to be justified, and we'll find out this was all her idea, and if it doesn't work out, you can blame her. I don't know. I'm not going to take it that far right now. Another thing I like, though, is by George calling this out, this is not something that HBO is going to be able to ignore. The showrunners definitely aren't going to be able to ignore it. They'll have to address it. And if, hopefully, we get some sort of insight as to what George thinks about this prophecy stuff, that's my biggest problem. I don't mind a wink to Game of Thrones, but, I mean, is this a prequel to Game of Thrones, or is it an adaptation of source material that was already created? That Game of Thrones could play out exactly the way it does. Fire and Blood, the way it's written, it can be exactly that, and Game of Thrones can go exactly the way that it goes, and nothing that occurs in Fire and Blood canonically jeopardizes or contradicts Game of Thrones. Even if I don't care if it did, I would like it to. I don't like the ending of Game of Thrones, so if it changed that or retcons anything from the ending of Game of Thrones, I really don't mind that. But if you're going to keep winking at Game of Thrones and you're going to keep attaching yourself to Game of Thrones instead of making it more of a faithful adaptation of what's in the text, because you've got a lot of great bullet points of events in Fire and Blood. So to bring those to life and expand those, I think that House of the Dragon had a really great opportunity to expand that source material and make it a little bit more realized and really flesh out these characters a little bit more than what we got in the source material. And they've done that. It just seems that these characters had kind of clear directions to go in. And of course, this is a history text that doesn't focus on character development too much, so there's a lot that the showrunners would need to add. But what they're adding seems to kind of go against a lot of the way George writes and a lot of thematic elements that he likes to introduce into his writing. So the focus on prophecy, I think, is something that I hope to hear George comment on at least a little bit, even if he doesn't outright criticize it, if he questions it, or he goes into the logistics of translating the source material, or whatever he decides to comment. I think it's going to give us a little bit more clarity. And then our criticisms or our insights into House of the Dragon, at least they'll be based on maybe a little bit more information, so that we're not just talking blindly, because all we're doing now is speculating. And hopefully George can set the record straight in certain areas. I don't know if he will, but this is a blog post that's going to be coming in the future, and I'm looking forward to really seeing it. And hopefully you guys didn't take it too personally, my defense of Sarah Hess. That's not at all what my goal was when I hit record. It's just something that came to mind because I see those comments on almost every single House of the Dragon video I have, and I just think maybe we should take a step back for a second, because maybe she's not in charge. And I don't know why everybody believes that she is. But she might be. You never know. You never know. So anyway, for more House of the Dragon content, go ahead and click right here. And make sure you leave a like if you made it to the end of this video. And if you're not already, make sure you are subscribed.